Okay.
Or in the middle there, random still.
So I'm here with Laurryn Gershmas, and she teaches art at Mount Sentinel Secondary. So Laurryn, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you have to talk about in terms of art instruction and comments from the kids?
Okay, sure. I'll start with my Art 7s, the beginning of the art program here at Mount Sentinel. At the beginning of the term, I had kids fill out what kind of feedback they would like to get from me on their report card. What would they like that message home to be? I hoped that it would be positive and that it would set the tone for trying to reach that goal. And so if we ever needed to come back to what that goal was, we could say, well, you know, you really set this high standard for yourself. How can we get there? So I'll read out a few of them. Dear Mom and Dad, I'm having fun in art. I hope to get an A, and to achieve this, I will pay attention in class. I'm doing good, Mom, and I listen. What I wish, that's what I've been asked to write down, so here it is. All I wish for in Art 7 is to reach for the stars and be the best I can be. I know that most people want an A or be the best in the class, but I just want to be the best I can be, even if that's only worth a B. It's amazing. I'm a good kid. They want to know that they're good kids. They want us to communicate that back home. I'm trying my best, and I am focused, and I wish I could get an A in art. I hope to succeed in getting better in realism. So you get everything from like me, love me, to I want to improve my skills, and of course the illustrious A. Everybody wants the A, and I don't blame them.
How do you get them to that place where they feel confident in art?
How they get to be confident? Well, often in grade 7 they start off feeling really insecure, I think, some of them, about their skills, and you hear all the time, I can't do this, I can't draw, I don't want to show it. And you know, you feel a little bit sad, because I think part of art is that emotional side, and trusting your instincts and learning to be confident. And when they can't do that, yeah, your heart goes out to them, I think. So you have to support them in ways and show them that they can. And I'll show you one way that we try to do that with a drawing assignment that I have. The assignment is to go outside, and of course they love to be active. So they go outside and they pick a leaf, and we talk about magnification, and you know, it's high school now, so we use the art terms that are out there. We're building up a foundation, so we look at magnification, we talk about Mother Nature and all the flaws, and that actually makes it really quite beautiful. We have them draw a leaf from memory, and it's quite perfect, like a symbol usually, and then we talk about those flaws and how to make something look realistic. You have to include the flaws. So I think that's kind of a nice, gentle way to break into having flaws is a good thing. And then I have them work small, so they can show me that they understand those techniques we're talking about. And so on a very small card that's quite a bit less precious than the large final project, they can show me color blending, that they're using the entire space, and then that they've learned this technique to scratch back. And so once they have had the success, and each of them has been successful, there are a lovely set of cards in here with all kinds of different solutions to the same question of detail and drawing from observation. Once they've demonstrated that, they get their big piece of paper. They have their A when this goes in the book, when they can show me those techniques to the best of their ability. So it also helps me to compare them only to themselves and not to the person next to them.
Do you set criteria with them when you do that? Because I know there's a criteria sheet, so how does that play into it?
Oh, sure. Well, I have them try and set it themselves. When we looked at the example leaves, and we had some beautiful photographs up on using the digital projector in the classroom, we talked a lot about just what we were seeing and what makes a leaf beautiful. And I showed them an example from a previous year. I don't have it in here right now. I'll use this. And we talked about what made that leaf look so striking. And they came up with it, and they would say things like the flaws. Well, it looks really real when we can see where the worm has eaten through the leaf, or where the colors are starting to go brown. And so they would even pick out that the imperfections were needed to have the piece look successful. So once they get there, I feel like they're ready to go.
Laurryn, do you give them descriptive feedback along the way, or how does that work? So it sounds like you've developed the criteria with them. Then what happens?
Okay, so they will bring this to me at a stage, and they'll say, they always want to get into their final project. There's always a rush to do that, I think. When they bring their miniature version to me, we talk about what we're seeing in there. And I just ask them the questions. have they blended the colors? Did they start with the lightest colors first? Do they feel that their piece is finished? You know, trying to ask them as many questions as possible. 9 out of 10 times when they bring this forward, they're ready. 9 out of 10. Very few times do you have to send them back and have them start again because they saw the example. Because the piece is small, it's not as precious. You know, there's a certain willingness with this small format for them to try it out, because if it doesn't work, they grab another one. So I think they might be editing before they even bring me their piece for feedback. Sometimes they need help. How do I do that? I can't remember how to scratch back. Or sometimes the black, they noticed black they didn't like just adding black onto it. They thought that it looked a little bit too dark compared to the leaf, and so we talked about if we actually saw black in here, or if it was a dark brown or a green, and they would go back and they would add green on top of red, and it would look more realistic. So
it's interesting, in your descriptive feedback, you're almost asking them more questions than telling them, commenting, making commentary.
How to go in their own work, yeah, because they become such individual pieces that way. Otherwise, it's my artwork. I struggled with that at the beginning for sure, because you want it all to feel successful. But it's their work and it's their journey, and I'm really trying not to compare their work to mine or to each other's. So.
How have you been tying this all in with report cards and marking, as you did at the beginning there? There's
Yes.
one example, but we've been using a little bit in terms of e-portfolios. Can you tell me a little bit about that process that you've gone through the kids?
Yeah, so, oh boy, knowing they want the A, knowing that every one of those comments that I'm doing my very best, working inside, being in grade 7 and being energetic and sometimes talkative and going off topic, but still really inside the learning, they're trying their best. I thought, how can I get them to prove that? As opposed to me saying, this is a 9 out of 10, this is a 10 out of 10. None of these will have marks on the back, because as soon as you put a 7 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10, the work comes back to them and it stays on their table like that. The number is what they're proud of, or what they're concerned with, and the artwork no longer exists. And so I had this idea to take their portfolio, so all 6 pieces from the first term, and that they would go through their portfolio and put them in order of most successful to least successful. And I came about this with one of my senior classes last year. There was a lot of not so successful work, and I didn't want to mark them on what they didn't learn or what I felt that I hadn't taught very well. And so I had them choose their best work, and we went from there. So I adapted that back to the grade 7s and had them lay out their portfolio, best to least successful, and then start to reflect on why. And so with the iPortfolios online, they could put them in order, and then they could comment on there and keep those comments. So I felt parents could see that later, or I could see that later. The beautiful part of that was that they started to understand effort in art, and asking questions like, well, why wasn't that one as successful? Well, I didn't really like that project, or I didn't put in as much time in that, I was talking a lot, or it didn't get done. And those were always the ones at the end. The ones that were successful, they put their effort and their energy into, so they got to see that for themselves right away. It'll be really exciting next term to see how that carries through.
So it sounds like you're working with criteria with the kids, that there's bits and pieces built, success is scaffolded along the way, and that you're building metacognition by asking them how they're doing on the pieces, and then it's a portfolio piece where it's a work in progress.
It's their work, so I can take it home and mark, A, B's, or C's on all of it, and give it back to them in that way. But it's not feedback, and in a certain sense, it's damaging in art. That question of how are you feeling about your work? That came through Chris here. She said, ask the kids how they feel, if they're proud, because they'll constantly come to you for affirmation of their work. Is this good? Does this look good? Do you like this? They'll say, and it's so easy to say, yes, I do. I love all your work, but that doesn't help them either. So when they can say what they're proud of in their piece, then they've learned it, and they know, and they're very honest about what's not there too. One little girl was almost in tears saying, I don't have all my work done, and I think what I really need to work on is how much effort I put into each project, because it's taking too long and I only have 3, and she was proud of all 3 of those. So then the question of quality over quantity comes in too. Would she not get an A for not having all 6 pieces, or is she doing her very best work and putting it forward?
And which is more important, right?
Which is more important. So having them decide that. They see for themselves in that moment when they have 2 out of 6 or 3 out of 6 if they're talking and goofing around and not putting their effort in. They have that information. They have that information if they're proud of their work and they're happy with their portfolio too. So I like with the e-portfolios because they're all actively engaged at looking at their work, not making work that day, just looking at their work. I walk around and I have a snapshot of my whole class and really where they're at with their effort and with their learning and with what they're presenting.
Their reflection piece.
The reflection piece, yeah.
What do you like best about teaching about art? What are you passionate about art?
I think right now in particular, the younger grades and knowing that 11 to 13 years is really where that transition happens, where the kids start to tell themselves that they can't, and having them feel really proud when they can. I think that's it. That's the piece. It's exciting. It's exciting to have 60 pieces of wonderful work to put up and have them on display in the hallways and have the senior kids commenting, "Oh, I can't believe that the grade 7s did that."
And that everybody can succeed. That everybody can succeed.
Yeah. That it's really, you have to break into that they can and that they start to see that it's their work and it's their assessment.
It's their growth mindset.
It's theirs, yeah. I've had other students ask, her work makes me feel really bad. And she made me feel really bad today. And we talked about that and I thought, what's going on with that comment? Her work is her business and your work is your business. And what she was getting at was the praise that I had given to the other. Looking really good, keep up the good work. She didn't get the praise that moment. And the effect that had on her, it made her feel bad. And I thought, part of that I can control. I can monitor and ask questions about how they're feeling about their work as opposed to dumping the praise on as I walk by. And yeah, it really made me think about just that link to how are they feeling about their work.
Thank you, Laurryn.
You're welcome.